Hello. Hello there. Hello there. So I'm open in Harmonium. I'm also live in Zoom, and I am just making sure that everyone can get on. I always know that it's tricky. Okay, I'm pausing my phone. Start this. Hello, everyone. This is Trish Mangold, holistic health practitioner, and today kicks off the flow month of February. So I appreciate you being here. And if, as always, if you have questions, feel free to pop them into the Zoom chat. Hello, Melanie. So we are doing February flow, and this is being recorded. So for those of us who cannot join the live, it will be sent out. We have a steady but growing community for Wellness Wednesdays. I did announce that next Wednesday will be it'll be Monday. So Monday's the new Wednesday for next week. So we'll be doing 1 o'clock next Monday. So February flow is all about, can everyone hear me okay? I'll just make sure.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the flow. So what we've been talking about in the past, there are recordings to that, so I encourage you to get a hold of those and share those with people that need to hear it. We've been talking about feast and fasting. We've been using sunlight for resetting our sleep patterns. And moving into February, we're talking about flow. And the reason why this is important is, in January, we also talked about liver health and gut health. And now we're moving into the blood and lymph and the role that the blood and lymph plays in our health and well-being. So there's no need to really take frantic notes while we're going through everything here, but we are covering some information that you may have not heard before. And I will be sending out a helpful, along with the recording, I'll be sending out a helpful PDF with some key takeaways and a little bit of a kind of like a worksheet and an overview for the month of February, so you can really hone in on what's resonating with you and walk away with actionable steps. Does that make sense? Sound good?
Sounds great.
Wonderful. Okay, so like I said, flow is the month theme for throughout February. And a lot of us have heard of the word lymph and we know blood, all these things that flow in our body, but what makes them flow is different. So the heart is the pump for the blood, typically speaking. And now we have also our electrical system, our nervous system. That's, how safe we feel in our body, how quickly we can move away from harm and motivate to a healthy response to everyday stressors. And then also we're talking about our lymph, and that's kind of the lesser known body fluid that we have and the role that it plays. Does anyone care to unmute themselves and kind of tell me what they know about the lymph or what they think the lymph is or the role of the lymph? I like to have this as a very interactive conversation, so I'm not just talking to you.
Um, all I really know is that it seems like I more know with my kids whenever they're fighting something, their lymph nodes like swell up and stuff like that. But I don't know a ton about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we've got major lymph nodes in our neck, and if we get a sore throat, we feel them swell or it becomes hard to swallow. We have major lymph nodes in our armpits, in our groin area, in that inner thigh area, behind our kneecaps, even at our ankles. So these are the major, also our diaphragm, underneath those ribs cage. And the lymph is our sewer system, and it also transports waste from our cells into our detox pathways. So the lymph is really important. And when we feel stagnant in our lymph, we get puffy in the face sometimes, swelling in the cheeks, in the neck, instead of having an actual armpit. It's called a pit for a reason. Sometimes we're puffy here and it doesn't have a natural pit, like a little cave there. So these are all signs that we have stagnant lymph. Sometimes we get puffy in the ankles, especially if we're in high altitude or if we're flying. Has anyone ever experienced any of these things?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, like you said, like when we get sick or feel something coming on, we get tender in these spots. And it's our body's way of kind of collecting the waste and trying to do its best to eliminate it. But when we have And the lymph is really important because, like the blood has the heart to pump our blood by, we don't really have a pump for our lymph. And what moves the lymph is movement in the body. So proper hydration is very important when it comes to lymph flow. Minerals for the nervous system and electrical system to fire correctly and communication system, as well as moving the body. So whether it's just a gentle walk or tapping the body, or shaking it off. This is all moving the lymph, just the gentle. And sometimes if I wake up and I feel like I'm a little puffy in the face, maybe I had Chinese food the night before or something where that sodium can really sneak in. You feel that puffiness in the face, or your rings are kind of too tight, you can't get them off your hands. That's kind of some puffiness, stagnation in the lymph. Maybe our ankles swell, especially when we fly. So what we're going to cover today is some simple tips to get the lymph flowing, so that it's a major detox pathway. So we've talked about the gut and the liver being very key players in our detox pathways. And now we're talking about the blood and the lymph, because the blood and the lymph both, they deliver nutrients and they take waste away and put it in our detox pathways for elimination. Does this all sound good so far?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So um, so when our lymph and blood is flowing properly, we feel energized, mentally turned on, our detox pathways are open, our hormones are communicating more clearly, and we feel better and lighter in our body, less stagnant and heavy. So it's even if today, I know some people can't join today. I've heard from a few people that they're traveling, or even if people are joining us as we go through the month of February, it's never too late to jump in and start. So don't feel like just because you're not here today, starting on day one, that you can't get the benefits out of this month's theme and weekly calls. So the 4 key areas of focus for the month of February, we're going to lymphatic flow related to drainage, detox, immune support, and hormone support. Blood circulation is great for oxygen delivery. Warmth in our digits, especially in the winter months. It's certainly not happening here in Southern California today. Feels like August. Honestly, I'm sweating and I've got windows open and it's like, I feel like it's 80 something degrees out there. But there are parts of the world right now that are experiencing cooler climates, and we really need to keep moving and to support flow into our digits, especially their toes and fingers and our brain and, you know, major organs that play a role in keeping us vibrant and vital and resilient and healthy. So this is why the blood and the lymph are so important. Cellular hydration and minerals, you'll hear me talk about this a lot. I kind of talked about it a lot in January, and I'll never stop talking about it because hydration, the role of minerals and coherent, like structured water, the kind of water we get from when we eat our water. I always say don't forget to eat your water, because that's what you're getting in your fruits and vegetables that is in a state that your body can truly use to hydrate at the cellular level and support cellular function. So I'm just also trying to keep an eye on my notes and the chat and the comments. Delphine said, no idea. I'm not exactly sure what she meant on that because I didn't catch it when she said it, but she said regulate hormones. Yes. So the flow of nutrients in and out of the body and cell waste it's all connected, right? We're all holistic beings. So the more hydrated you are, the more flow state you're in, the better everything's working, the more regulated your hormones are and your sleep and your nervous system. It's all connected. So now, and light and rhythm. So the 4 topics, lymph, blood circulation, lymph flow, cellular hydration and minerals, as well as light and rhythm. These are the low-hanging fruits that should be part of your everyday well-being, because light and rhythm is getting exposure to natural. We are light, energetic beings, and even on a cloudy day, if you can get out in the outdoors with as much skin as exposed as possible, even if it's raining in Portugal, Delphine, get out there without a hat, without your sunglasses on, and because it's 100 times more brighter than the sun. The power of the sun is more bright when you're outside and exposed as much as possible to the sunlight, especially in that early morning light and in the evening light around sunset. So these are helping support circadian rhythm and hormonal rhythms and all types of and quality sleep. Which is we are, diurnal beings. We have a sleep-wake cycle, a daily sleep-wake cycle. So I'm also going to bring in some elements of the Chinese traditional Chinese lens. So traditional Chinese medicine has been around for thousands of years, and it's actually built on the backbone of Ayurvedic medicine, which are all about working with the body's rhythms, whether that's daily, monthly, seasonally. And it really, truly does. When we go back to those basics and get back into the rhythms of life, it shows up in all aspects of our life and how well we flow through life with less resistance. And that's the name of the game, right? Less resistance and more flow in life. So the lymphatic theme, when it comes to the Chinese medicine lens, lymph regulates organs, and it's related with the spleen and the stomach. Um, the emotional themes are when it's out of balance, like overthinking, worry, feeling stuck, heaviness. And when we're imbalanced with our lymph, the emotional theme is feeling more grounded in our body, more rooted, more nourished and supported and clear with clarity, mental clarity and emotional clarity, physical clarity, just, feeling more in flow in our bodies. Um, and then the blood in TCM in Chinese medicine is related to the heart and liver. Emotional themes are irritability, frustration, restlessness, emotional congestion. So if we're remunerating on things and holding on to stuff, we're bringing that into our present, right? And we don't want to do that. We want to let go of the past, we acknowledge it, and then we move forward in the present without worry about the future and think and living in the present is all really the key to happiness and well-being and living the life um, that we want to have, having the relationships we want to have. So when we're imbalanced in TCM with the blood flow, we feel more calm, inspired, emotionally fluid. So we can deal with heavy emotions, but we have a healthy response with heavy emotions. We're not stuck in uh, like feeling we're not remunerating on heavy emotions, but we can acknowledge them, we can communicate about them. It doesn't hinder our relationships. We're not having the same feelings over and over. Are we following? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. So the weekly flow and elimination checklist. So I'm going to be giving everyone a little checklist, just like little things that you can kind of bring into your daily lives and just to help you keep in your flow state. So sleep. When you wake up in the morning, you can give yourself a little rating. Do I feel rested? Am I relying on caffeine to get my elimination happening? And if you are, this is an unhealthy relationship with caffeine. So we need to look at our hydration. And, we've talked in the past, we've talked about castor oil packs and how they can help with elimination. So those are some low-hanging fruit nightly things that you can do in your sleep. And who doesn't want a little hack while you're sleeping to help support better elimination in the morning, better flow state. And when we eliminate the waste, we make room for nourishing and feeling lighter and moving forward through life with better flow. So the other checklist could be your goal is to drink a liter of coherent water, like eat your fruits and vegetables. Maybe you're leaning to analemma, structured water. Definitely leaning into mineral water, mineral-rich water before 10 a.m. Perhaps that's a goal that you might have. Last call, we talked about how analemma structured water can reduce inflammation aging by 8 to 12 years in just 12 weeks. So that's just one. We're all trying to drink our water, right? So you might as well drink water that's going to benefit you in the most effective way. And analemma is one of those tools. We talked about that. I have a analemma water bottle. There's wands that you can get. They do have an amazing sale going on right now, so you can still take advantage of that if that's in your if this is calling you. So mineral rich water is very inexpensive as well. You can get your hands on Celtic sea salt or Baja Gold. And this will help with the regulating the nervous system, the electrical system, the communication between your cells, the flow of your lymph and the blood. Just a note, the Baja Gold and like Celtic salt is pretty close to the mineral content of your blood, what it should be if you're properly hydrated and properly mineralized. So this is why when the body recognizes something that's very close to your body, it's very close to amniotic fluid, the fluid that the babies grow in the belly in pregnancy. So, and the salt in our oceans, it's very interesting how nature repeats and you see these themes moving through life. And so moving through different elements and in nature, the way nature is intended. So I really the reason why I bring that up is because I was strongly against those hydration sticks that are like um, LMNT. Unfortunately, my mentor, Dr. Mindy, I love her. But she still really recommends those. And I don't see the benefit. Most of them have stevia in it, and I'm not a big proponent of stevia. It disrupts the microbiome. And also, it's just potassium and sodium, and there's like 70 trace minerals plus. You need more than potassium and sodium to have a proper balance of minerals in your blood and in your hydration and to fire your neurons and to have the mental clarity and to get the nutrients into the cell, the hydration into the cell. You need all the trace minerals that are in there, and they're naturally occurring in the B minerals, the Celtic sea salt, and the Baja gold. Those are my top three. And, I'm a big fan of beam minerals because they both the electrolytes and the microboost have humic and fulvic acids. And speaking of lymph, basically not only do you have the full spectrum trace minerals getting the hydration into the cell, but you also have the fulvic and humic acids in both of those that are naturally occurring. And it acts like one acts like kind of like a passport to get the nutrients into the cell. The other one acts, well, I think it's fulvic humic acid acts like a Velcro, taking the waste out of the cell, putting it into the lymph system and into the bloodstream. And then the fulvic acid, the humic acid, one of the two, I might be confusing them, but one of them has the role of the Velcro, taking the waste out of the cell, and the other one has the role of like a street sweeper. Imagine, the street sweepers cleansing this, sweeping the streets, pushing the debris, taking it away. Well, that's what the humic and fulvic acid does, puts it into the blood and the lymph for elimination through your healthy detox pathways. So let's just cover those detox pathways. We talked about the liver, the gut. Those two really need to be addressed. And then the lymph is huge. You've got I think it's like 3 times more lymph fluid in your body than you do blood. And, there's so much emphasis on what's circulating in the blood and, your blood labs and what does that look like? And, it doesn't always mean what's circulating in your blood is getting absorbed by your cells, your tissues, your organs, and your glands. So this is why we need minerals to get the hydration in. And this is why we need to lower the inflammation and we need to work on the hormone hierarchy and become insulin resistant I'm sorry, we need to work on insulin resistance and become insulin sensitive because once we manage our cortisol, our nervous system, once we manage our insulin on the bottom of that hormone hierarchy, all the other hormones can work more effectively and efficiently in the body. The ones at the top of that pyramid are the happy feel-good hormones. So mood boosters, neurotransmitters for brain and connection and wanting to connect with others and build community and motivation and libido. And then, the sex hormones in between, and they're important not just to feel like you intimate and want to connect, but also for our, longevity and how well we age and think and live. So try to reel this in and get back on track on my notes here. Okay, so we're gonna drink. If we're gonna drink water, we're gonna drink mineral-rich water. We're gonna drink water that's hopefully not always, full of ice. Us Westerners, we love our icy drinks, but it does, especially around mealtime, we don't want to just have our hydration at mealtime. We want to drink in between mealtime and minimize the drinks that we have at mealtime just to support digestion. So if you're noticing bloating and food sensitivities, try to switch your hydration between mealtime and minimize it. You don't have to have nothing during meals, but just minimize the quantity that you're drinking at mealtime, just to support healthy gut pH and stomach acid so that you can properly digest the food you're having. And then cold drinks and TCM really dampen that digestive fire. In TCM and Ayurvedic medicine, we talk about our digestive fire, the Agni, and when we have these cold drinks, it puts out that fire. So if you are having digestive issues or complaints, bloating, gas, poor elimination, then really look at what you're doing around timing of hydration, temperature of hydration. And ironically, did you know hot tea is the most consumed beverage in the world? Well, a lot of Eastern cultures recognize that drinking warm tea is very good for your digestive system and immune system and mood. And that, our gut is where our immune system lives, 70 to 80%. That microbiome, it's really important for that and where our happy, feel-good neurotransmitters live. So we need to nurture the gut health as much as possible. That's why I put such an emphasis on the microbiome. So we've talked, and so the other thing that we'll talk about is noting changes in elimination, bloating, lightness, and mental clarity, that gut-brain axis, the mood. If you're feeling depressed or sad, it's really the quickest way to flip that switch and is working with gut health. Okay. So is everyone with me? Does anyone have any
Yeah,
questions?
I have a question. So you're saying that when we're having our meals, we should actually be drinking less.
Yes.
Okay, that totally goes against that. Like in the past, everyone's like, drink this much water because it'll fill you up and then you'll eat less. And like that is like something that I've always practiced. I drink a ton of water when I'm eating.
Yeah. Well, you can try it. So often we confuse thirst with hunger. So if you are having a hard time going be between meals without snacking and you're ravished, just think, is it hunger or is it hydration?
Hmm.
And so maybe having a pinch of sea salt, like Celtic or Baja Gold in your mouth, and having a glass of water, like room temperature water, like maybe 30, 40 minutes before a meal isn't a bad idea. Like come into a meal hydrated, but know that's going to take 20 minutes to get into your system and hydrate, unless you're drinking analemma water, which is a lot quicker into the system. But then when it comes to actual mealtime, try to limit your intake of fluids to like a cup, 6 to 8 ounces throughout the whole mealtime. And how many times do we refill our cup during mealtime,
Right.
especially, if we're eating out? So
Yeah.
just be aware of
Well,
that.
so
So
why is that? It makes it harder to digest your food if you have a lot of water in your system.
yeah, because you're diluting your digestive enzymes. So your stomach needs to be acidic to digest. So if you're noting bloating, or if you eat like a heavy protein meal and you feel like it sits like a brick in your system, there's a chance you might have not strong enough acid in the stomach. And a lot of the times, if you feel acid reflux, it's so common that the GP, your general practitioner, your provider will tell you, oh, you've got low stomach acid, when in fact it's the opposite. It's your stomach acid isn't strong enough to break down the food you're having, and now your undigested food is coming back up. Does that making sense?
That totally, oh my God, it might be my thing. That might be my issue.
Yeah. And so Delphine's saying that's why acidic wine is paired with food. And yes, I think wine and food are a beautiful pairing. So I had a client that was told, her doctor told her to stay away from tomatoes and vinegars and everything because she was having acid reflux. Well, her problem was just low stomach acid. And so all these things the doctor's telling her to stay away from are doing the opposite thing. You want an acidic stomach. And she was being
Mm.
told she was too acidic. And a rule, and here's one key action that you might want to take note of and try for the next week. With your meals, ha 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes before your meal, have a glass of water with, like, say, a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in it. Get the one with the mother that's not filtered out. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Apple cider vinegar, like Bragg's apple
Well, yeah,
cider
no,
vinegar.
yeah, I have apple cider vinegar. I just have the kind that has like it has cayenne and something in it. I don't remember the brand,
Okay,
but
well, cayenne
I
might be a
do.
little irritating to the system. For this purpose, let's test your stomach acid. Because if you're feeling acid reflux, is that what I'm understanding?
I do have a lot of acid reflux and heartburn. However, since I've started doing the tongue scraping, I don't.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's a good little
Yeah.
takeaway. Isn't
Yeah.
that wonderful? That's really interesting. So it's probably changing the pH in your mouth and then it's affected. Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm
I
really,
mean, I'm assuming that that's what it's from. That's like, I mean, I've changed a lot of things, so I'm not positive it's that, but I feel like it is.
yeah, I
Okay.
love that. Well, these are great little tidbits. I'm just trying to see both chats because I've got Harmonium coming, I've got Zoom coming, and my notes. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so back to where was I? Okay, so if you feel bloating, if you feel like you're eating, you're trying to get healthy amounts of protein in and you're eating your fiber, but if you're having any digestive issues, this is a one key takeaway that you might want to lean into. It's just for 1 week or 2 weeks only. Try
Okay.
a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and some water about 15 minutes before meals. This will help strengthen your stomach acid. And note, after your meal, do you feel the same? Is your bloating different? Is your digestion different? Are you eliminating differently? And when I say eliminating, I mean number two. And yes, I have to talk about poop. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. No, that's a big thing for
Yeah,
me.
poop
Yeah.
is such a it's such an indicator of health. You know, a lot of these tests that we do with our doctors, the blood tests and stuff, it's a flash in the pan of what's circulating at the time, especially if it's hormones. It's kind of almost absurd, in my opinion. How could you get a real reading of your hormones in a 1 day span if you have a 28-day cycle as a woman? Even if you're not cycling with a period anymore, you still have fluctuations of hormones. So what day do you test those hormones? And when would you test certain hormones over the other? There's just so many factors to consider, and that goes for nutrients in the blood as well. Like, so say you went in and you got your, I don't know, B vitamins, tested, or your thyroid hormones looked at. That's just what's happening in a lot of the times they say, oh, you've got perfect, your all three thyroid hormones look great. Off you go, but you're like, something feels off, or your energy's low, and they're like, oh, your B vitamins are wonderful, or your D is great, but you don't know what's getting absorbed into the cell. So this is why looking at something at like poop and energy levels and sleep are, to me, really good indications of how well your body's functioning over certain blood tests. I'm not saying all blood tests are not helpful. I'm just saying you can kind of start to see why some people might fall through the gaps if they're just looking at those indicators and they're still feeling like crap, yet on paper their blood work looks like they're okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So elimination is such a key indicator. And what I will be providing everybody along with the recording of this is, what does healthy poop look like? What does it smell like? What's the color? What is the shape? So that's what we have to talk about. And we get to know about our bodies. And then sometimes, we might be humming along just fine. All of a sudden we're like, whoa, what was that? And why did that happen? And knowing this in the back of your mind, you'll be like, oh, I just need to add a little more fiber. Oh, I overindulged in the greasy food. Or, oh, um, I need to hydrate better. So these are the kind of, you want snakes in the bowl. That's kind of what we talk about. And I always say, I know it's kind of funny, but if you look at your wrist to your forearm, that's a healthy amount of elimination in one, like that is a good indicator of what you should be eliminating first thing in the morning.
Wow.
I know. So with that being said, there's something called the Bristol stool chart, Bristol with a B. That's Bristol. You can find that on a simple Google search. And that's something that you can look at the shape, and then, that was an easy kind of map to look at what's going on with your body, and another indicator of health and well-being that you don't have to outsource to a doctor. So frequency as well is important. So at least once a day. And hopefully that's happening in the morning without relying on coffee. The amount of people that say, oh, I eliminate fine, but they really need that cup of coffee to get things going, right? So I don't know if you've heard that before, but
Oh, that's me.
yeah, yeah.
That's 100%.
Okay. So I've seen that, and
Yeah.
I'm not shaming people that drink coffee at all. I just, I don't drink coffee. So I didn't know that was a thing until like the last couple of years. So, but just on a coffee note, I will say that there are health benefits to coffee. We've seen those reports, but make sure your coffee is a clean source, mold-free. It's one of the most sprayed crops as well. So hopefully spray free, clean coffee. So unfortunately, those big name coffee shops are probably not giving you the best source if that's your daily intake.
No, I definitely don't do that.
Okay, cool. So ideally, we want to eliminate fully in the morning with, a good amount of volume. It shouldn't be, it should be brown, and it shouldn't be offensive in smell either. And certain things, and if that's happening, no shame, blame, or guilt, but it might mean you're not digesting your protein well. Like often people are doing the best to keep up on the protein for bone health and everything else and muscle integrity, but they have a hard time digesting it. So maybe leaning into that apple cider vinegar for 1 or 2 weeks is something that you can do. And it's a short-term solution. meaning you don't have to do it forever, but it can help get your stomach acid back in the right pH balance. And then, and if it's smelly, it might be sitting transit time. So healthy transit time might be taking too long. Let's talk about transit time. So what does that mean? From the time you eat the meal to the time it comes out, there's healthy transit times, right? So, and you can always test, you can test that by either consuming some like white sesame seeds in water, like a tablespoon of those, and then looking for them and in your stool. And then, or you can maybe eat some beets. It might turn things red. So just be aware that it does do that. I've had people kind of freak out thinking that they were bleeding, but it's not, it's beets. So those are two things that can help you look at healthy transit times. And I will be sending this information in the PDF to come with the recording. And ease of elimination. Is it strange, slow, or incomplete? So like I said, a full completion should be a good amount and a good girth. And it shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't take a lot of time. It should come out nicely without too much strain. So that's also an indication of hydration. This is all part of our February flow. So yes, we're having this conversation. And after you eliminate, are you feeling heavy, neutral, lighter, clear, and energized? So testing these kind of checking in with your body and kind of monitoring some trends and then looking at lifestyle patterns and where we can make improvements is how you take control of your flow state. Does this sound good? Okay. So what is your body communicating with you this week? You can start, I'm going to send you this checklist so you can start looking at your elimination and understand where you might lean in to find some low-hanging fruit to support your flow state. So February 4th, which is not next Wednesday, it's actually Monday. This is when I will be doing next Wednesday's call because I will be traveling in the wrong time zone. So I'm just going to move it to Monday at the same time, 1 o'clock Pacific. And we'll focus on flow when we wake up. So gentle activation and awareness. We're going to do like a little something that we can do in our morning routines to support lymphatic flow and blood flow. And some of the tools are going to be like just jumping on the spot. Sometimes it's not even we don't even have to leave the surface of the ground with our feet. We can just be raising our heels like this if this was my foot and just landing softly like that. That enough is to move the lymph. I will be sharing with you how to manually move the lymph. So we're going to go over our biggest lymph nodes and the order in which you do them to support healthy lymph flow. There's something in the brain called the lymphatic system. It sounds like lymph system, but it's the separate system of the brain. And overnight, we have the brain clears the toxins overnight. It's the lymph turns on and recirculates. It's kind of the dishwashing moment of our brain. And so sometimes in the morning, when I remember, and hopefully together this month of February will help us all remember to do this, is to support the lymphatic drainage. And it's so fun. So just to give you a teaser, you can actually feel it drain out of your head in the morning, which is pretty cool. So that's when we really want to lean into our hydration with our beam minerals. If we have micro boost, we want to double up on that the night before when we sleep. So take a full dose before, like an hour before bed. So we're not up peeing all night. We want to just take it a little bit before bed, but we're well hydrated to support our brain cleansing through the night, as well as our liver cleansing through the night. A lot of our organs in the Chinese medicine clock. You can look up Chinese medicine clock if you wish, but that's a lot of our organs turn on and start cleaning house while we sleep. So we want to be well hydrated. And then that's why it's really important to have that first morning full elimination to get rid of the toxins that are leaving us through our bowel movements. So we'll go over some gentle waking up the body, moving that lymphatic system into our lymphatic system. And then also, I'm a big fan of Zen Cleanse. And I will, for those of you that are encouraged or called to lean into Zen Cleanse, the flow kit is now a 30-day flow kit. It's amazing, and it can be done with or without food throughout. We bring in our fasting lifestyle, and it's all fermented fruits, vegetables, and seaweeds to support the flow of our lymph and blood. It's very easy to do. It's like 4 simple tonics throughout the day. And I will bring that to our next Tuesday, our next Monday call. And so you can see what's inside. But if you want to go ahead and shop ahead, you can go to zencleanse.com and use Elevate at checkout if you wish to get the flow kit to add on to your habit stacks for this month. B minerals important. Coherent Analemma water is another amazing tool. It's still on sale, so take advantage of that. I think it's 25 or 30% off right now. That coherent water can reduce inflammation-related aging 8 to 12 years in 12 weeks with just 2 liters a day. So one of the checklists I have is drinking coherent Analemma water, a liter of that before 10 a.m. That's my personal checklist. I'm sharing that with you because it has big impact. So we're going to talk about an I am statement. So I am open to movement, to momentum, to gentle activation. And then we're going to reflect every week. I encourage you to pull out your I am statement for the till next Monday, and then reflect back on before our call next Monday. And I encourage you to share with the group what has shifted and what has moved, whether it's a thought or something emotionally or something physically for you. I love to hear what's happening for you. February 9th, we're going to talk about hydrating again, just, really leaning into hydration. And also for those of us going through the flow kit and how that's translating to activate our flow state. Morning jumping. And then I am going to teach us a few easy few-minute Qigong and Tai Chi moves where we're going to activate our flow state with our breath. Our breath is another major way to activate our lymphatic movement. Breath and movement move the lymph. Our diaphragm below those floating ribs is a huge lever that a balloon, so to speak, that just expands and contracts. And when we breathe to expand our ribs, not just when we breathe, not just shallow breathing through our chest, but when we breathe through our belly, that expands the diaphragm to stimulate lymph flow. And it also expands those spaces between our ribs when we breathe laterally and into the back of our ribs. That's expanding the space between our ribs called the intercostals. And they don't often get a lot of love unless we're really intentionally stretching. So we're going to do a lot of movement around this, and we'll wrap up today's call with a little stimulation of that. So don't let me forget to do that. So again, movement, breath, hydration are all things that are going to help to support lymphatic flow, and which is this exchange of nutrients into the cell and waste out of the cell and through our detox pathways. Also, sweating is a great way to eliminate. Our skin is our largest organ, so we're talking about sweating through our largest organ. So whether that's a brisk walk, especially on a day like today in Southern California, it's so warm outside, I'm sweating just sitting here. So we don't have to have expensive saunas or hot yoga sessions to sweat. We can just move our body and take our power back that way as well. Okay. And also warm baths can be a way of sweating as well. And I encourage people to put good quality mineral sea salt into our baths to also get the minerals through our skin, hydration through our skin as we're sweating at the same time. So February 18th, we'll be back on Wednesday. That'll be the 3rd week of February that we are diving down the flow state of February. And we're going to clear the congestion. So lymph detox and emotional flow. A lot of the times we get caught up in just talking about the physical part of what our body does, but I love to bring in the emotional flow because, stagnation and emotions can sit causing issues in the tissues. I did not coin that, but I said it to Rachel once and she loved it and it really landed with her. So knowing this type of feedback from people is helpful because if it makes it stick in your memory, you start sharing it with other people. We create the domino effect that we need for creating a community of wellness, of people living more in flow and loving their bodies that they live in. So the focus for the 3rd week, we're going to really, keep going with this lymph detox and the emotional piece of it. The Zen cleanse system is not just physical, it's definitely moving emotions through the body. So I do encourage you to lean into that if that is something you're called to do. Again, we'll focus on the neck, the underarms, and the abdomen, these major areas where stagnation can sit. And we'll do some, I encourage you to do some morning jumping stimulation of the lymph areas in the morning and in the evening. We're habit stacking our sunset and sunrise, right? Even if it's not really the sunrise, maybe we're getting out within 10 minutes of just waking up before we look at our screens and before we turn on our computers. We're getting exposure to natural light, which is optimizing our flow state. It's optimizing our hormones, including melatonin is a hormone for sleep, and cortisol levels. It's helping get our day motivated and going to a healthy cortisol response to get out of bed and get the job done and do what we want to do and show up in life the way we want to show up. So, and serve the way we want to serve and react to life's challenges with less reactionary and more thoughtful response. Does that make sense? Okay. So, and on February 25th, which is our wrap up since our last week in February, where flow really becomes a way of being and momentum in the body. So we're focusing on integration and rhythm, and we're going to practice combining all these flow practices into simple morning rituals so that you can carry this forward into March. So this is the idea and the intention behind these Wednesday calls, is to build a tapestry of a lifestyle of well-being that feels like it fits, that it's easy. And if you're just pulling 2 or 3 things every month into your life, before you know it, imagine where you'll be in 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now. So you'll have this, as natural it is to brush your teeth in the morning, you'll be doing these stacks and you'll be feeling that much better and aging more gracefully and loving the body you're living in. Any questions? Okay. So we have about 20 minutes left. I can go into some things to think about for later in the month, like you are becoming the rhythm with your body, your energy, your life. This ties beautifully into the overarching theme that we're doing in Harmonium, our vision, our activation of our vision, taking micro steps into how we want to be, how we want to serve, how we want to show up in life. Before reflection could be, how do we feel at the beginning of February? So maybe your homework for today until we meet again on Monday is, how do I really want to feel? Getting crystal clear clarity. Because if you don't know where you want to go, how are you going to know what that first micro action step is, right? So how do we feel at the beginning of February? And then we'll wrap it up towards the end of the month. With these micro actions, we'll look at what momentum that we've been carrying forward and that we look forward to carrying through to March and beyond. So I encourage you today to maybe give yourself a score of 1 to 10 for your energy level. And if you're feeling like caffeine is something you're relying on for elimination in the morning, perhaps you switch to matcha, because caffeine from coffee is just a little bit more taxing on the system. It's more of a tax on the adrenals and cortisol, and it does have a crash effect to it. Whereas the matcha caffeine from like green tea matcha is more nurturing to the system. It's a healthier caffeine, not as taxing on the system. So maybe you love your cup of joe and you can't give it up. And I'm not saying you should, but maybe you're just having one instead of 2 or 3. Maybe you're looking at quantity versus quality. Delphine just brought an espresso machine. Maybe they have matcha pods for those. I don't know. Enjoy your Nespresso. Make sure it's clean. I don't know about the brands that you can get for those, but look into that. And then, so today, assess where you are energy-wise. Like, where are you in the morning when you first wake up? Where are you in the afternoon? Do you really need to rely on energy drinks or like caffeine? Maybe you can go outside and do Dr. Zach's 4-minute movement or a few gentle, maybe let's wake up the lymph and just do a few jumping on the spots for 30 seconds. And then maybe you can just tap your body and wake up these major lymph areas and like do some breath, like energizing breath work, maybe the breath of fire. That's what we'll wrap up today's call with. Well, Delphine, you're going to bed, so maybe do a more calming breath. But for Mel and I and everyone else on the call, catching the replay, depending, like, know what time zone you're in and know what you're doing and why you're doing it, because knowing what it's going to impact your physiology, then you pull those tools out of the tool chest at the right time of day for you. Instead of, invigorating your body before bed, that's probably not the wisest choice. You want to calm down and get ready and wind down for a good night's rest. So I suggest that today we look at our energy level, give yourself a rating from 1 to 10 in the morning, afternoon, and before bed. And then maybe assess your mood and just see where the trends are. No judgment, just seeing where the trends are, where you're at, meeting your body where it's at. And then we're going to pull these tools out of the toolbox to add to our wellness routine. And any body sensation. So if we're feeling stiff, so that morning stiffness when you wake up, it's not normal. It's not part of aging. You don't have to feel that way, but it's stagnation in the body. It's stagnant energy, stagnant flow, stagnant. It's probably poor hydration. That's a big proponent of it. So lean into those minerals and hydration at like an hour before bed if you can do that. Are there any questions so far? Okay, so the daily flow tracker, morning light exposure, jumping and rebounding, great for the lymph and blood. I invested in a small little personal trampoline. It wasn't that expensive on Amazon, and you don't need it. You could just jump on the spot. You don't even have to leave the ground, but the tramp makes it a little bit more fun, and I can get a little more exercise out of it rather than just my lymph and blood. So it's a bang for my buck. I put on my favorite song, or I count to 300 and I count for 300 jumps. I was doing that for like a week, and it was difficult at first, then it got really easy. And once it got easy, I was like, oh, my body's resilient. It's adjusting, it's training itself to do this. So I said, to myself, well, now I'm going to do 500 jumps. And so I did that for three or 4 days. But of course, I can't travel with the trampoline. So it's not practical. So I was gone for a week in the snow and I was skiing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not jumping on my trampoline. I got out of the routine and I felt it. I noticed it in my body. It changed. I couldn't believe how quickly I was getting results in toning my legs with that trampoline. It's insane,
Oh yeah.
absolutely insane. So, and you don't have to do it for a long time. Even if you did it in the morning, right after you hydrate, habit stack, go outside. I pull it outside and I do it in the smallest amount of clothes as possible. I put a sports bra on and like my tiniest shorts. I'm out there jumping and I'm looking at the horizon and I'm trying to deep breathe and I just drink my analemma water and my bean minerals. So these are the little stacks.
And so
Um,
like the jumping you're saying though, you're saying it should be done pretty much right after you wake up? Or
I
can
think
it be or
go ahead.
I was gonna say, or can it be like, just sometime in the morning? Like
I Whenever you can do it. Sometime in the morning is great, but if you get up in the morning and sometimes you feel stiff in the joints and you're sluggish and your elimination's not coming, but you want to reach for that coffee, maybe go jump, maybe have a full glass of water first, maybe make it room temperature with some half a lemon in there or half a lime. And then maybe don't have the whole glass of water, just have like a third of it and then jump. And then let that, because if you full belly with water, it might get too sloshy and make you feel nauseous or something. So don't drink too much and then go jumping, but maybe drink a little bit of water, jump a little bit. Once you get tired, yeah, maybe help with the kids, make breakfast, finish your water, and then come back to it and get that flow. Give your body a chance to eliminate before you put that caffeine in your body. I was on a call once and they said, wait 90 minutes before you have caffeine in the morning. Because
yeah, I have been trying to do that and it hasn't worked. So I stopped doing
okay,
it.
are you trying a
But
castor oil pack? Have you tried that?
I was, yes, I
Okay,
was
well, try to
doing
be
that.
consistent with that. Put it in your belly button, put a smiley face under your belly button, put it
Yeah.
over your liver, rub it in, but it's still going to be, it's not dripping, but your skin will be glistening
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
castor oil. Then you put the pack on, sleep with it on. Um, Give yourself like, that moment when you're in bed and you haven't opened your eyes yet, but you're awake and you're like, good
Hmm.
morning stretch. Okay, maybe have your castor oil on your bedside table and maybe just put a little bit in your fingers and rub your hands together and just give yourself a loving belly massage. Sometimes you can feel it. Like you got to go clockwise, right? If you go anti-clockwise, you're going to push things in the wrong direction. So go clockwise. So you're going from left sorry, from your right side to your left and down. And when you go down right there on that left side from your upper ribs to your low hip, you'll feel, I mean, I feel it sometimes. You can feel the
Yeah.
stuff trying to come, you can feel it. It's ready. It's right there. So you just kind of gentle pressure. You'll notice at first it might feel tender, but then you can, if you just do 4 or 5 passes, you can start applying more pressure and it doesn't feel as tender. And then all this, and then, this is, okay, I'm gonna do this. I start, can you see my tummy?
Yeah.
Okay, so I start here first. This is my left side,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
go down, and then I go across with cast if I'm feeling a little bit backed up. So then I go across this way, and then I go down again, and then I go up here 4 or 5 times, and then across 4 or 5 times, and then down again. And I'm doing this, I'm just for sake of time, I'm doing it fast, but I take my time. And then I'll just do like 3 or 4, and I say, I release and do the emotional thing in your mind. I release what's not serving me. I release I release the elimination, whatever it is, emotionally, mentally, physically, you don't need to name it, just whatever it is. I'm just releasing it for full elimination. And just try that on for size for 3 or 4 days and see what happens.
Okay.
Does that seem doable?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, and then sometimes just smelling the caffeine before you actually sip it, make a ritual out of it. And if you can wait that 90 minutes and you say it still hasn't worked, maybe it's that brain, that sense of smell. Smell has a big memory thing and trigger for our bodies, whether it's perfume or a bad smell or a good smell. Um, if you just smell your coffee and just like really make a ritual out of it before you even put it to your lips, maybe that'll stimulate some triggers to go. I don't know, but just
Yeah.
let me
Great.
know. Let me know. Okay, what else is going on over here? I feel like there's some comments. Okay. Um, the flow kit. Okay, so the flow kit's optional, obviously. It is an investment, but it's a 30-day kit. And the investment, I believe, is the Zen cleanse, I feel like is such a great investment in people's well-being. So it's going to encourage smooth blood flow and lymphatic movement. But like I said, everything that we've talked about up to this point are very helpful as well. You're still going to get a lot of benefits out of it if you're not jumping into Zen cleanse right now. Supporting gentle detox and fluid balance. So if you're noticing the puffiness, and it's a nice thing to do to reset these little, and it's all fruits, vegetables, and seaweeds that have been fermented for 3 years in a lab setting with Tibetan sutras playing 24/7. So that's part of the expense of these kits it's just such high quality and the care and time that it's put into it. You're getting so much nutrients that you couldn't possibly consume, and it's keeping you in that state of apoptosis, which is cell death. So it's not putting you in a state of digestion, but you're getting so much nutrients that's like the enzymes are acting like little Pac-Man going through the body and clearing out, targeting the lymph and blood, in this case for the flow kit. So it's a great thing to do, especially if clotting, strokes, any blood disorders are an issue for you. But if you're on blood thinners, maybe consult with your physician. But if you're pregnant, this is not for you. But the flow and blood kit are not for you. But other than that, there's really no contraindications. So it helps reduce the sluggishness, the puffiness, the stagnation, and it might be something you do once a year to support circulation. Like I said, it's fermented whole food based. So if this, sounds good to you, I always say I encourage everyone to send this to a friend because we need to grow our community to have a bigger reach and all be part of lifting the collective and taking our power back because a lot of the times we give our power away and it's unnecessary. So to a white coat or even a diagnosis, and it becomes part of our identity, which is also not unnecessary. So if we weren't born with it, I like to say we don't have to live with it or suffer with it for our lifetime. So just as a recap, are there any questions or any clarity needed for kind of next best steps? We're looking at elimination. I'll give you a second to unmute and let me know if you have anything to add or questions. Okay, well, with that being said, would you like to finish with a little bit of a grounding, lymphatic, flowy embodiment?
Yeah.
Okay, Delphine's quiet over there. Is she falling asleep already? Okay, I know. That's just because you're in Portugal, 8 hours ahead. So it's 2 o'clock here. I think you're 8 or 9 hours ahead, right? Okay, yes. Okay, so go ahead and whether you're laying down ready for bed or if you're kind of wanting to get re-energized, I'm going to try to find a medium ground here for everybody. So embodiment. Okay, let's embody this flow of our lymph and blood. So I'm going to do this one, which is one of my favorites because sometimes throughout our day we can clench our jaw and carry tension when we're not even realizing it. So I'm going to ask you to bring your two peace fingers, but we'll do one side at a time. And I've got my amazing earrings that my birthday earrings from Delphine on, but if I'm going to take it off just so it's not in the way. Um, just for dim. So if you can take your earrings off, and our ears are our reflexology map, just like our feet are. We've often hear about foot reflexology, but our ears have the same reflexology pattern areas where we can stimulate different organs and blood flow and lymph flow, as well as our amazing vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is part of our parasympathetic nervous system, and it helps us regulate digestion, sleep, mood, rest and repair. So we're going to take our peace finger here and we're going to go front and back of the ear and gently press against the skin in a way that feels comfortable to you and hopefully relaxing behind the ear and in front of the ear. We're stimulating our vagus nerve here. And so because we only have 4 minutes left, I'm going to demonstrate this on one side, and then I encourage you to do the other side after we wrap up at the top of the hour. And then you can just take your thumb and pointer finger and just lovingly massage your ear. You can pull it up to like 12 o'clock if this was a clock, if noon was up here, out to 3 o'clock, out this way. And you might even feel a little tenderness in that ear. And then pull it down. If 6 o'clock was the bottom, pull your earlobe down and give it a loving massage. You might notice I'm getting some more blood flow in my ear area. It's turning a little pink. And you can even fold your ear closed. It's a funny sensation, but it's amazing how much tension we carry here. And then you can even press in like that a little bit. And now I'm going to ask you to anchor your chin area and just like piano fingers, we carry a lot of tension in the jaw. I don't know if you're anything like me, whatever feels good for you. If you want to use these two fingers like this along the jawline. Oh yeah, you can do both sides at the same time. But for sake of demonstration, I was showing you one side at a time so you can see it properly. You're lucky you get to do two sides at a time. You can do two sides at a time, but it's also fun to see if you do them separately, like one side might feel more tender than the other, and what sensations might arise for one side to the other for comparison reasons. So this is part of releasing that tension along the jawline. So if you feel like you're getting puffy, and we call it cortisol neck, if you've got like a really inflamed neck area, it's stagnation in the lymph and also cortisol dysregulation. It's one area where cortisol dysregulation can show up. And now just bring your fingers down like this. So this is part of that morning one where you can really release that lymphatic drainage from the brain from its overnight work where it's clearing the lymph. And what I should have said is what we should have done before we started this is opening up our termini. So if you lean forward and you see these little divots in your clavicle here above your clavicle bone, this is an area that can also be really puffy. You might not have a divot there. I have to really raise my, it shouldn't be that hollowed. I'm just trying to, just for demonstration purposes, but you should have a little depression here normally. If it's really puffy and raised, it's another sign that your lymph is stagnant and you need to work on lymph flow. So all you need to do is I would say, instead of your pointer finger, use your ring and middle finger, just because you don't need a lot of pressure. And just like you're testing almost like a mango or an avocado or tomato for ripeness, and you don't want to bruise it, you're gently squeezing it. That's all you're doing. And just like 12 to 36. 36 is a pump as a number in TCM that they use a lot. And I forget why, but they're all about numbers. But you can just pump it 36 times like this. This opens up your major termini before you do what we just did with the ear and massaging. That way, so when you're moving the lymphatic from one side to the other, when you're moving it and draining, the other reason why you might want to do one side over the other is because you could see, you can compare if there's been, significant depuffiness, like movement of fluid out of that side of your face compared to the side that you didn't do yet. And sometimes we might have bilateral asymmetry anyway. I tend to have a little puffier on this side of my body, which is normal to have asymmetry. But anyway, you get my point. So open up the termini, 36 gentle pumps first, then peace fingers behind the ear. Then you can play the piano along the jaw or go like this to release the jaw tension. Repeat it on the other side. I also like to, between the brows here, like between the eyes, I like to stimulate this area and then go along the brow bone. I don't know why this feels so good for me, but it always does, which makes sense because this is where I have my 11s here, and that's where I carry my tension and I furrow my brow. So I guess it makes complete sense. I wish I would stop doing it. Go along your forehead. For whatever reason, I just wish when we had massages, they would massage our face and our bellies and our heads, because I feel like we carry so much tension in our heads and bellies. So I also go beyond the hairline through the scalp. We carry a lot of tension, and this is going to release a lot of drainage, lymphatic flow. So we are at top of the hour, but you can repeat to the other side along the brow, and then even right here at the base of the nose. And you can go along the cheekbones, and then always sweep up back into the hairline, past the hairline. And then I love to just, if you have a gua sha tool, you can do, but you don't need tools, right? These are your tools, your fingertips. And then down the back of the neck. Feels heavenly, actually. I'm gonna keep going. Delphine says that they massage the head, the face, and the belly in Portugal, which of course they do. I think people here are just too worried about it being weird, but I think it's just so important. Even our breasts, as women, we probably don't do our breast check often enough, but we have so much lymph here. I mentioned before, if you don't have a pit, you need to work on your lymphatic drainage. If you have a puff here, if it's puffy and sticking out, common sign, and don't feel no shame, blame, or guilt, but it's a common sign of lymphatic stagnation. So we need to get in here. And often it's like, not hard. You don't have to get in here and like grind. It's just gentle pumps. The more gentle, the better. And find where it might feel a little tender. That's probably where you need it more. And then come around to your breast. And I'm not going to show it on camera, but you know where that is. Come around to your breast and like massage that area, because we need to keep that lymph moving in our breast tissue, men and women. And then don't forget, you've got the other side. But since we are just over the hour, I'm going to stop it here, believe it or not. And I'll pick up where we left off. I'm going to do the full 12 main points of the lymphatic drainage for Monday's call at 1 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question or anything, I'll please do. Otherwise, I cannot wait to see you on Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much for joining me, and I love you all. Till Monday, and then Wednesday subsequently after that.
Thanks, Trish.
You're welcome. Have a beautiful rest of the day.